TV studio on a laptop. Yes.
So you're looking at yourself?
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by GrokTALK.com, New Hampshire's conservative website. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone-stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for 2 hours of news and opinion you could only get from GrokTALK.com. GrokTALk.
Welcome to another edition of GrokTALK. It is March 8th. That's the recording date. That's the live stream date. This week on the show, you are going to get to see one of our guests early. She's already here, Pam Tucker, New Hampshire House Republican co-chair of the House Republican Alliance. And we will also have the founder of Cornerstone Policy Research, Republican primary candidate. Karen Testerman will be with us. She is challenging Jean Debo Adigbile Shaheen, and House Rep Kevin Avard, or is it Avard? I can't remember. President of the Center for Redress of Grievances, who's going to be running for the New Hampshire State Senate, and he's going to be challenging, I believe it is Betty, My Husband Stole Campaign Signs and Got Away with It, Lasky. So we'd like to welcome you to our show. Everybody's in studio. We had a nice long chat before. If you missed it on the live stream, you can actually call us now at 603-715-9689. That's 603-715. Before we get into anything, I wanted to preface the segment with a quote from Rand Paul from his CPAC speech last night, which sort of caught my attention because it reminded me of the goings-on of the last few weeks, which led up to a vote this week that we found very...
Imagine with me for a moment, imagine a time when liberty is again spread from coast to coast. Imagine a time when our great country is again governed by the Constitution. Imagine a time when the White House is once again occupied by a friend of liberty.
About 2.5 minutes, so...
Now, you may think I'm talking about electing Republicans. I'm not. I'm talking about electing lovers of liberty. It isn't good enough to pick the lesser of two evils. We must elect men and women of principle and conviction and action who will lead us back to greatness. There is a great and tumultuous battle underway for the future, not of the Republican Party, but the future of the entire country. The question is, will we be bold and proclaim our message with passion, or will we be sunshine patriots retreating under adverse fire? Will we be firm in our convictions, or will we cower, defeated, and meekly dilute our message? Will we water down the Bill of Rights, or will we be all on fire, like the unstoppable William Lloyd Garrison? For 30 years, Garrison stood as politicians whimpered and compromised and left their fellow man in bondage. Garrison would not. He could not sit quietly by. He rose above those politicians that would leave the country half free, half slave. His voice was unwavering. I will be as harsh as truth and as uncompromising as justice. I will be in earnest. I will not equivocate, and I will not excuse. I will not retreat an inch, and I will be heard.
Okay, so those are some pretty compelling words.
They are, and I have some thoughts on that topic for later, but we have a distinguished guest with us, it seems. So...
She's our 9:30 guest.
Oh, okay.
She's also our 8:30 guest.
Yes.
So this means Pam gets to interrupt us in the first half hour, and we try not to interrupt her in the second half.
Exactly.
You got it right.
That's how you go. That's how
I
it
won't
works.
interrupt you too much.
So here's my thought, guys. And by the way, did anybody listen to Rick Perry yesterday? If that guy had been on the campaign trail, he'd be president today. We know he was in pain from back surgery. We know he was medicated some of the time, and he sounded like it. And we believe his wife was the driving ambition of getting him out of the State House early and onto the campaign trail, just from the way she acted and spoke on the trail. And it's a shame, because I think if he'd been ready to do it and fired up to do it, he'd have won. And, not to say he's the perfect conservative or the perfect Republican, but damn, Rand even exemplifies that a notch more. He's really about liberty.
Well, it's not just that Rick Perry also put those principles into play in the state of Texas. So there was some type of action on those principles. And look at his state. His state's growing. People are leaving California in droves to go to Texas. So you see that they do work. It's not just a bunch of rhetoric that we're talking here. He made it work for that state.
Have you no shame, sir? He does not. He goes out and campaigns, nay, sells his state and recruits citizens and businesses to come there.
Good for him.
Wish that we had somebody like that. Wish maybe Ovid had won, but, Ovid was too nice.
Unfortunately, the Democrats are putting a closed for business sign on New Hampshire if you start looking at the whole list of bills that they've been passing in the House. But we'll go into that later.
I'd rather consider trying to move the Free State Project to socialist Vermont, where at least they value individual liberty. Believe it or not. You can't, there isn't a friendlier place in the nation for guns, for example.
Everybody cross the river.
Yeah, really.
Stampede.
Well, one of the things that has stayed with me is that, you had Rick Perry at your house as he was announcing his campaign, Pam, this last go-around. And he said a line that I think has struck and stayed with a lot of people. It certainly has with me. My goal is to make Washington, D.C. as inconsequential in your everyday life as much as possible. And it really spoke to the heart of what the founders wanted to do, is government should not be inside every single person's life at the first, second, and third level. It should be down at the fourth, fifth, or sixth level, pretty much staying out of people's lives. And, we talked about in the pre-show about the progressive nature of some of these folks who are trying to push government into every single nook and cranny of our lives. So he is an existential threat to the progressive movement, because whereas he wants government out, they want, for some silly, stupid reason, to jam even more government into our lives.
Yes, and that's why you saw they took him, they froze him, which is a typical Alinsky-type tactic, froze him, and then they just made him the issue and destroyed him. And that's what they did, and the media just jumps on board with these and destroys the character of the individual.
Well, quite often the media is in the lead. I mean, I think even without the discovery of their quiet little cabal where they were making policy decisions, if you look at...
Are you talking about journalist?
Journalist, yes.
Right.
The media really sets up the Democrat Party. I mean, they put the ball on the tee, and then the Democrats drive it. And if you look at the evolution of these memes and these ideas and these notions, they start in the media. They start in the liberal media, and then the politicians pick them up and they run with them. And the reason they're so successful is they are a dog with a bone. They never let it go. They never let it go. I mean, we might pick on an issue and then beat on it for a little while, but then we kind of move on to the next issue. The principles are the same all the way along, so we're very consistent about that. But the Democrats never let it go. They are still talking about the Tea Party being evil. They are still talking about the Coctopus. They are still the phone jamming scandal still comes up. Still comes up. Those people were exonerated. Even the ones who served jail time, they still bring it up. And people go, oh yeah, I remember that, because they only remember what they read in the press.
Right. That's all right. We can still use it. We use it to throw Fergus under the bus about once a month.
Oh, we do. But I'm just saying that in order for us to be as effective as
we've
a
got to
party,
keep bringing it back.
is that we need to use the media resources we have, which are limited compared to Democrats, and then to point at these resources as we discuss these issues. Now, we were talking before the show about candidates who've been kind of pushed out, like Rick Perry was, and how there just wasn't an effective counter punch to that. Like, you can stand up and say, well, I'm going to defend what that person said. Well, a lot of times what we do is we stand up and say, well, it wasn't a big deal when you did it over there on the left side, and it wasn't that bad when she did it over here on the left side, and you guys completely ignored it when... Defend your position before you attack hers.
Well, there's no upside for them for doing that.
No, but we don't put enough pressure on them
No,
to do
we
it.
we don't. And as we were discussing, I think we do need to, maybe it's time to get a 3D printer and print that little spine out of your Republican repair kit. Pam, what we're talking about is Steve came up with this Republican repair kit in a box. It has the model of a spine
And two little
and
chrome
two
ball bearings about that big.
You know, if we get
That's
a
appropriate.
okay, folks, we are asking for donations so we can get a Grok 3D printer, and I promise you, we will create the Republican repair kit and ship it to every single rhino.
It did actually occur to me that we could probably make a fortune if we came up with a little box. I don't want to say bag, box with a spine and two little ball bearings. You know, big ball bearings, and we sold them. You know, just over cost.
Yeah.
To anybody who wanted to buy a Republican repair kit, send these to your legislators, send these to your Congress people, send these to your senators. You know, I think we could make a lot of money.
Yeah, we probably could. That's actually a pretty damn good idea.
I like
Steve.
this idea.
Yes.
I like this because you can get 3D printers that'll print in metal now,
Maybe
too.
we need to crowdsource this and see if we can get some funding.
We could probably buy model spines made out of decent plastic and some
Probably from Malaysia.
and chrome or
Doesn't
brass.
Nancy Pelosi own Malaysia? I don't remember.
Chrome or brass ball bearings. Although I believe the brass ones were appropriated by the secret policeman.
Poor Pam sitting here going, "Oh, these guys."
I
Why did
have
I-
no response.
She's just observing. So.
Because as you noticed, my comments on Crimea's against humanity.
Yes.
An insert joke about secret policeman's balls here.
Yes. Yes. Well, we can say things that other people only wish that they could say, so we'll continue that meme on that. But yeah, it's been quite the week. It, you know, I look at what happened here in New Hampshire, and definitely say a few of the New Hampshire state Republican senators need a double batch of that repair kit, because with their passage of Bradley Care or Morse Care, otherwise known as Obama's Obamacare Medicaid expansion, I think they have fundamentally set the stage to fundamentally transform New Hampshire from the live free or die state to I'm dependent on the government hammock.
Let's face it, guys, if we don't elect a vast Republican majority this November and repeal that before it seriously starts paying out, we'll never get rid of it. And even then, it'll be dicey, and they'll paint us as mean and horrid, and guess what?
Well,
we're going to get painted that way anyway, no matter what.
I like that.
That's true. Pam's absolutely right.
We're going to get painted, but the bottom line is whether we get painted or not, are we going to stick to our principles? And what we were talking about the Constitution before we came on the air. Are we going to stand up and defend that oath that we took and the principles of freedom? And we talk about the Republicans. Well, we got to elect more Republicans. You know, we have to elect more freedom and liberty people, regardless of party affiliation. So, and yes, I am a Republican and a partisan, but that's what we need. The Democrats should be looking at this and saying, if they are truly for the people and all the people, and not for the special interests, they should not be for Medicaid expansion. Because if they looked at the whole population and said, who do we represent here? They're representing special interests. You know who my special interest is? First off, it's my constituents, and second, it's the taxpayers of the state. That's my special interest, and that's 1.3 million people, not dollars, 1.3 million people.
The same way that we do. We look at people as an opportunity to succeed. They look at people as which identity victimhood group do you belong to? And they look at the poor as being the rich have stolen that wealth from the poor. Therefore, we must use the force of government to rectify it in whatever means or way that we can. They don't see equal opportunity. They see oppression. And that they are the do-gooders. And I would be okay if they reached inside their own pocket and tried to rectify the situation. That's what civil society used to do. That's what private charities used to do. But instead, they've gotten a hold of the levers of power, and they have made it quite clear that
Good luck.
everybody is responsible for helping this person, and you don't have a choice. And that's really the key word. You or phrase. You have no choice.
So well said, Mr. Limbaugh. It's fitting that this is the week.
I don't think so.
Oh, I do. This is fitting that this is the weekend of CPAC, because in 2009 at CPAC, Rush Limbaugh gave the speech of the century. It went on for more than twice its length, and they wouldn't let him finish. And one of the themes that he took up was, conservatives love people. We treat everybody the same. I want everybody in America to succeed. And that's basically what you were saying there. And I can find that clip somewhere. But essentially, Democrats see victim groups, Skip sees, and Rush Limbaugh sees, and conservatives see people yearning to be free and successful.
We're going to take a 67-second break. We'll be right back. We're not going to take a 67-second break because, hold on, we're going to try something else. File does not exist. Technical difficulty. Let's try this again.
Steve McDonald here. Molly Shaheen, Senator Jean Shaheen's daughter, has a very expensive LA apartment where she lives and works, but for some strange reason, she voted here in New Hampshire. Elena Biden, niece to the man a heartbeat away from the presidency. Well, she never lived in New Hampshire at all, and she voted here and went back home. New Hampshire Democrat Emma Roos invited her adult children to leave their homes in Virginia, Washington, D.C. to claim they lived in New Hampshire to vote last November, and they went back home. New Hampshire State Senator Martha Fuller Clark, vice chair of the New Hampshire Democrat State Party, she had a whole bunch of people who aren't from here living in her home, including a paid congressional staffer and an ACLU lawyer from Arkansas. They don't live here. They all claim to be claiming to live here just so they can vote here and then leave. That's not all the Democrats who showed up to steal your votes and then leave, but that'll get you started. This is Steve McDonald for Granite Rock, and we'll keep shining the light on them for you. GrokTALk.
Okay.
Gotta
Difficulty.
love illuminating those Democrat cockroaches.
Yeah, it's. I was going to play the Strong New Hampshire commercial, but it's gone. Let's go find it.
File not found.
Okay, after what you just said, that was great.
I think it's great. And you made a couple points. Of course, I have to write down because you said so many wonderful things there. But you started out...
Am I getting buttered up finally? I've achieved nirvana!
Oh, jeez. Well, you started out very well. You said government is force. And I think most people don't understand that that is what government is. They take away your rights and your powers. It is a force. You don't pay taxes because you love to pay taxes. They force you to pay taxes. We don't follow all the rules that they put in because we are forced to. And they are a force of oppression. And that's what they have become over time. And I think people have forgotten that, and they're looking at government now as the handout. We started to talk about that, of what can you give me? And it's not what are they taking from me, it's what you can give me.
Yeah. And I said this to somebody else earlier this week. If you look at the Declaration of Independence, it said the reason why government is constituted is to protect our freedoms and liberty. It is the idea that people should be free from government interference. That was our founding principle. The progressive principle, as we saw with FDR's Second Bill of Rights, is that people should be free from necessity. Well, it's a nice idea. Everybody should have a house and food and education and a job and yada, yada, yada. But it's only because there's the force of government. This stuff doesn't just come into being. Government must first take it from somebody else to give it to somebody else. Now, the Democrats and the progressives are really, really good about saying, we're going to give you something. That famous campaign commercial that Hillary Clinton had around Christmas time in 2008, where she's handing out boxes all up. Here's education. Here's child care. Here's health care. I mean, that really speaks to what you said. But at the same time, they never want to say what we're going to take from other people unless they've already demonized them, like the dreaded 1%. Those people shouldn't exist because they've stolen it all from you. And now everybody says, it's fine to take from people who have more to give to people who have less. I'm sorry, that's neither liberty or freedom. And the Democrats and progressives get mad when we say it's tyranny.
It's theft, it's slavery, and Walter E. Williams, almost old enough to be the son of slaves, says it very eloquently and very frequently, that government is force, that it is theft, that the people are using the government to take from you what they would not dare take from your face, which you've said a few times. And it simply is, as you know, what we should do with that commercial is run it with another one back to back in split frame, where you have black-clad, gun-toting thugs holding people up to take their money to pay for what's in the left frame.
Dan Itza made a great point, and it's in his book, which, as I said earlier, Pam is leaning
I'm
on.
busy reading.
Yes.
I'm busy.
He said that, because the government gets its power from the states and the states get their power from the people, you can't give the government a power that you do not yourself have. If you walk up to somebody with a gun and say, give me your stuff, or I'm going to kidnap you, imprison you, harm you in any way, sue you, whatever, you can't do that. You don't have that power. It's not a natural right. Therefore, you cannot give that power to anybody else. You can't tell your government that it's okay to extort people at great length. So, I mean, even at its simplest, like you said, you're a gun-toting thug. It's really what you've been reduced to. You're talking about your government being your personal mugger, and then they just walk up, and whoever they point at, they shake them until the money falls out, like that little cartoon I have. And then they scoop the money up and go, here's a couple for you. I'm going to take the rest over here and give it to my friends.
Right, and there's more of those over there who want it. And it's okay to shake up that one because, according to their means, they can use that extra change. They don't need it. And those people, those people need it. Isn't that
That's
the
right.
means
Just
and
'cause he
needs?
worked
Wasn't
for
that
them.
from
the
because
Marxists.
they've been liberated from work. And
Yes.
as I listen to all this stuff, it reminds me of Governor Bradford and the almost failure of the original colony when they tried communism first.
Prisoners have been liberated from work as well, in one respect or another. So.
I mean, that's really the ultimate or the pinnacle of what the progressive movement is all about. They want you to have the freedom from necessity, of which the biggest part is the freedom to have to work for what needs to keep you alive. The freedom to not work. That's what we have. This is what we are now finding out from. We have to pass this to see what was inside of it, as Nancy Pelosi said. I have a question for you, though, Pam Tucker, in the New Hampshire State
And it looks more and
Representative.
more like a gastroenterological accident.
Obamacare, yes. We've got the situation, and I'm asking you, what would the New Hampshire legislature's response to the same scenario? We're watching in Connecticut right now, where they put so many different kinds of modern sporting rifles and on a banned list. They've said that what they declare to be high-capacity magazines, which is normal for an AR-15, 30 rounds, that's normal. That's not high capacity. You want high capacity, that's 100 rounds. And we can get 100-round mags anytime
But why
we
do
want.
you need 30 rounds? Why do you need a magazine?
Because
that
I'm a
big?
bad shot when I get the knock at the door at 3 a.m. and I'm shaking so bad, I am going to miss the first 10 or so. What they've
It's not
found,
just that. You should make these people load a magazine. Just make them do it. Make them do it. You go to the range, you're only going to shoot 7 shots, and then you're going to go home. You know? The carpal tunnel. There could be a medical excuse here for the medical expense for the taxpayers by forcing people to continuously load 7-round magazines.
See, I bought the technology that it'll push it. It makes it. Never mind. Anyways, so you've got about 50,000 people in Connecticut who own firearms.
I thought it was 100,000.
Hold on. Okay. Calm down.
I'm sorry.
Who registered their firearms the way that they were supposed to. Good doobies. Sort of. There's another word for good doobies in this case called sheeple. They're estimating now between 150 and 350,000 other people are refusing to follow a law that the legislators created and that the governor signed. And now they're saying, Molon Labe, come and take them. And it gets back into what we were talking about before, which is the government can only rule by the consent of the governed, at least supposedly here in the United States. Everywhere else, Europe, that they want to turn us into, it was forever with the feudalism and all of that stuff. Government was always over the people. Here, the radical idea was to switch that on its head. Now we're seeing it being switched around so that government has subjects instead of a citizenry who has a government. Do you think that could happen here in New Hampshire, where a law is passed that is so onerous and so odious that the citizens say, here's a one-fingered salute for you, guy.
I honestly think that if they pass any form of registration whatsoever, the vast majority of New Hampshireites will simply not register.
Well, I think that might happen as well. And I think we saw a great example of what the state, and us being truly live free or die happened with the bill HB 1589, which is exactly what you're talking about this registration and when you buy the gun, it was basically the IDing everyone who has a gun. And all the people that you didn't know exist sent us an email. I mean, I had every single representative got 500-600 emails on it. I happened to probably get more because I was on the committee. I don't know why it came to Commerce. This is a criminal justice issue when you start talking guns and fines and things like that, but that's for another day. I think what you'll see is the people finally rising up and coming out and saying no. And they did that. And that is why 1589 did not pass. Now, you've heard a lot that, there's all these trickeries on the House floor. No, there wasn't. And you know what? The Republicans and the people who are for gun rights weren't in control. So we're not the one doing any trickery down there. So to try and blame Republicans is crazy. We are not the ones. We are not sitting as a Speaker of the House. We are not controlling that floor. So that was crazy talk as it was. But I really think that the people will rise up and say, absolutely not. Do not come and try and take them, especially when you have other people who truly believe in liberty coming to this state for that reason. And don't go to Vermont, please.
No. The one thing I want you folks in the State House to try and do is to actually point to the Constitution and enforce constitutional carry, because I have no intention whatsoever of registering any guns for any purpose, even to get a concealed carry permit. And if I need to carry, I will, and if I don't need to carry, I won't. I ain't telling anybody whether I do or don't.
It all depends upon what the makeup is
right
up
now,
there.
I'm not walking around armed, but do you feel lucky, punk?
Well, remember, it's not constitutional carry, but you can carry your magazine and your pistol separate, take them out where they're visible, put them together, and you don't need a permit for that.
And I do remember that, and it's probably time I started doing that with a copy of the judgment
one
in
other
my
thought, because
pocket.
we're just about out of time in this segment, but ex post facto, isn't Connecticut basically passing a law that now impinges on the rights of people who made their purchase in good faith prior to the existence of said law?
You're absolutely right, and you make a good point.
It's even a bill of attainder because it's criminalizing one class of people.
Yeah, it's something I haven't seen much in the paper, but you're absolutely right. It's like government says you will do this regardless, and that's where we have.
My high school history teacher, the woman in particular that I remember, got a lot of things wrong, and now looking back, I realized that she was a commie, but she was right about ex post facto, and I remembered that, Mrs. Berman, who's probably long dead, but thank you for that.
And I fell out with John Cornyn over that when they said, take back the bonuses in 2009. I don't care whether the bonuses were obnoxious. Congress did not have the right to criminalize one class of people.
All right, this is Grok Talk. We'll be right back with Pam Tucker in her actual segment. I'm Steve McDonald here with Skip Murphy and Mike Rogers. We'll be right back.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now the top of our list is voter fraud. If you have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
The Center for Redress of Grievances, LLC, was established officially November of 2012 for the purpose of becoming a media outlet for those individuals who believe and have documentation that they've been unjustly treated by local, state, or federal government agencies. Our mission is to document their stories and to get them out to the public. By collecting and organizing this data, the Center for Redress will be able to better show the public and our legislature that there are issues with some of our government agencies that may be widespread and need to be addressed. Although we are not a nonprofit, we do provide all of our services at no cost to our clients. All of our services may include screening interviews, documentation gathering, audio-video of court hearings, and production of Speak Up, which is our television show. We're funded exclusively through sponsorship of Speak Up and our advertisers on our website. We hope to help those individuals who, with well-documented stories, need to be heard with credibility when the other agencies and media sources turn a deaf ear to them. You can go to our website at www.centerforredress.com and check us out. Anything you would like to donate is truly appreciated, and we will put it to good use.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning. You're listening to GrokTALK.
Grok TV.